Okay, Eric, do you want to give your report?
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Eric Shadow. So I'm the treasurer, yeah. So just as an aside, we've been fighting with Trustco to get our account straightened out. So we're still fighting that fight, and to get the signers updated. But it's been sort of a challenge. So we started out the year, just a quick summary of 2020. We started out the year with $4,311.93. Over the year, let's see. We have over the year we received. What did I come up with? 840, about $1,140 in dues for the year. PayPal does, when you pay through PayPal, they take a little bit of that. It's just as a reminder. People may not realize that, but they do take 30 cents plus 2.9%. So just a little bit of the money goes to PayPal for the having that ability to take the money on a credit card. We currently have $105.88 in the PayPal account, and it's a total of $5,237.28. And of that, there was $837 is the remaining grant money for the Midtown Park design budget. I'm not exactly sure where that money came from, but it was that's what's remaining out of that. So that's part of the that $5,237. So that's about it. We really haven't spent a lot of money. We have a few things we got to pay. We had a couple donations we still have to send out. I was waiting to get the account straightened out, and then John Clarkson has a reimbursement for some expenses for the website and for Zoom for the year. So that was about $307. So I'm going to send that out once we get the checking account straightened out. We'll get that sent out. So that's what we have for the year. Any questions or?
Yeah, Eric, I have one question. Will the Upper Madison group under the auspices of the Neighborhood Association, we applied for and received a historic marker grant. And so we'll be getting a check for that money. Now, is it possible, will you be able to, because the money will obviously go into the regular account, so will you be able to sort of set up like a separate fund, or not fund, but I mean a separate area in the account so that?
Sure. I mean, we can definitely keep track of that. The same as we're keeping track of the remaining money. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Because
how much? What kind of a marker is it going to be?
It's a historic marker. Akeem Norder worked on it with us. It's a marker for the DeWitt Clinton Railroad. The information that's on the Ed Department's or on the regular historic marker that was put up there by the Education Department had incorrect language in it. And Akeem has been very bothered by that for several years now. And there's a grant organization called the William Pomeroy Grant Foundation, and William Pomeroy Foundation. And one of their programs is historic markers. And you can apply, which we did. Akeem wrote the text, and we just this past month, we just received notice that we actually have will be receiving grant.
Okay. Okay. So is there a certain company that you work with to get the sign?
Well, I want to ask Frank Zeoli, because I don't know what it is we're supposed to do. But I've noticed that there've been
Zoom to pop up, and then it didn't.
things in the paper that of other places in the city that have received these markers or have received grants for these markers, and I see they've been put up. So I don't know, Frank, is that something that DGS handles?
No, we have nothing to do with those historical markers.
Oh,
I want to say that it is the Historic Society, the Historical Albany.
Oh,
I think that they are involved somehow, and they're all over. With my 23 years at DGS, we have never been involved. We haven't installed one, nothing.
Speak to
all right, because I can't imagine, because there's one over on Manning and Hackett or somewhere around there, because I remember seeing an ad or seeing a
tried to
paper. So I can't imagine who the devil would be putting, who would be.
I don't know. You know,
said you were
I
asked.
would say Historic Albany would have to do that, I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well,
we can find out. Is there
yeah. I just assumed that it was DGS, as you guys are the ones that seem to do most of the things.
I will try my.
is it going to replace the sign that's there then?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because that will have to be taken away. And
okay.
I did that.
But anyway, that's just a question.
Okay. Yeah, certainly can.
Meeting.
Yeah, we can write the check out and whatever we need to when they pick out a company to cast it. I assume they're cast and painted and all that stuff. Yeah, that'll be cool to see that.
But if you're
I don't know. I mean, they give you, it's an odd amount, so they must I can't remember now what the size is, but it's not very big. But I'm assuming that they must have, we haven't received the paperwork on it, so we'll see what that says and then go from there.
Zoom package, no Zoom.
Yeah, see, they've got their the William Pomeroy Foundation website actually has all the signs.
Yeah, right.
Like you can find them, and
I'm in Finder, and
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
All right.
US, okay, it doesn't say anything. So
okay, so I'll type this up and send it into the board, and we can add it to the minutes for this meeting.
Okay. So we have Frank Zeoli with us, and he's going to talk about a variety of things, I think. So I will turn it over to Frank, and let's hope everything works. Frank?
Let's hope, huh?
You're right. Right.
Well, thank you for everybody for inviting me back to speak to your neighborhood group. I always look forward to it. It's always a spirited conversation. There's so many great people in this neighborhood group that care so much about the area and care about the city. So from a government standpoint, for us, from a public service standpoint, one of the biggest challenges we face with what we try to get out, the information we try to disseminate to the city, is we need people to carry that information and carry it forth and spread it so that we can, our policies, procedures, things that we do are well known and understood, so I thank you guys for doing all that you do. I was asked to speak tonight about the neighborhood portal. So I thought I would do that. And I'll share my screen in a second, but let me explain just kind of how this all came about. So Sergio Panunzio is our commissioner, and he started about 2 years ago with the department, and he walked into a department where I had already been for 21 years. The two other deputies in the department, Dan DeLillo and Joe Giebelhaus, they had been there 20 and 22 years respectively. So here he's walking in, kind of the odd, and he said, he goes, I got a lot to learn about the city, and I want you to introduce me to the neighborhood groups. He said, that's the way to do it. So I said, absolutely. So we started to do a bunch of neighborhood meetings, meeting people. And at the end of our tour, our first tour that year, he said to me, he goes, it seems like the common theme of what everybody's telling us is that there's just not a lot of good information, that the neighborhoods don't feel like we communicate well enough with them. So we started brainstorming amongst us, how do we do this? And we came up with this idea of a neighborhood portal. So, you know, what it is, essentially, it's a website, okay, that focuses on quality of life issues for neighborhoods. The web address is albanyneighborhoods.com. And when you get to it, it's pretty much at this point all DGS, but I'm hoping in the future it'll grow to be a citywide portal. And it's meant to be interactive. It's meant to be your one-stop shop to where you go to get information on what's going on, to be able to register for things. One of the biggest things that people call, they don't know how, they want to do a neighborhood cleanup and don't know how to get tools. You go to there, you fill out the form, somebody gets back to you and gets you what you need. Same thing with, you know, if you want somebody to come and speak, your civic group, a neighborhood group, or, you know, whatever, a spiritual organization, you know, whatever, religious, you want us to come and talk, we'll come and do demonstrations, whether it be recycling, whether it be, you know, somebody like myself or Sergio, who we're going to talk about the entire department, but it's a way for you to, you know, one-stop shop. You know where to go. I go to the portal. We're looking to add some things this year. Like, for example, one of the things I want to add is a tracker for our projects. So you'll know these are all the street projects that are happening, whether they're in-house projects being done or whether they're from contractors doing the work. You'll know these are all the streets are being done, which that information is available on the city's website to begin with. But then we're going to track it to say we've mobilized on this street, or we've moved it to the milling phase or the paving phase or the completion phase. So you'll know kind of where we are. John Clarkson, ladies and gentlemen. You finally made it on.
Well, go, continue on, Frank, by all
right.
means, please.
Okay. So that was so that's what we're hoping to do, more interactive. If we want to throw out a survey on there, we can, and people can do it. So it's a platform for people to go for just quality of life. Now, recently, you know, we launched a new website, and we're going to be, I think, going pretty, we've launched a new website. I think we did a soft launch. I don't know that we've announced it to and done a big announcement yet, but the new website's going to have a lot of the attributes that some of the portal will have as well, but we still want to connect it to this so that people have that one spot to go. And again, it's not just a website where you're going to read about your stuff. It's interactive. It'll tell you exactly where to go. It'll pinpoint specific things that are quality of life issues. So I'd like to do it if I can share. Am I able to share my screen? Yes. Okay. All right. So can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the portal. It starts with, actually, I want to move it. Hold on. Give me a second. All right, never mind. Okay. So this is the neighborhood portal. Starts with obviously a message from the mayor, a message from the commissioner, which basically explains what I just said. This section here is the city news. So we're going to go, you know, left to right. The city news is a section that when you go, it's going to give you information on different things that are happening. So during the snow, we obviously did quite a few updates. We did storm damage. You know, we adopt a tree that we just in September that we announced in the Pine Hills, actually. You know, things like that. This will be our spot for DGS news, and we keep it up with links and whatever you know, information is necessary. But that is the news section. There's always going to be stuff added. I'll be announcing, I think, next week or the week after, we'll be announcing the hazardous waste schedule for the year. We'll be announcing the shredding events for the year. So stuff like that would go there in the news section. Eventually, we're going to look to add a calendar here, but with the new city's website, there's going to be a calendar built right in, and we're going to have more space to do things. So, you know, we may not add the calendar directly to the portal. It may be on the city's website, but we'll direct you to it so that there is an actual calendar of what's going on with DGS. In this section, keeping with, you know, you connected and informed, DGS delivers. Basically, hit that button, takes you to an online form, you fill it out, we collect addresses. And when we have a snow emergency, when we have something we want to announce, like the shredding schedule or the schedule for hazardous waste, or we're going to be in a certain neighborhood doing something we want people to know, we're gonna send a mass email out to everybody that's on that list. So it's a list share, it's a list serve. So that's basically what that's going to be. That's what that is. We've had a good amount of people have signed up so far. So we're going to, that's something you want to stay tuned to. If there's like a snow emergency, or if it's, if there's just, again, we're announcing programs. So anybody who's on that list in a week from now, when we announce the hazardous waste and the spring and the shredding events, they're going to get that. That's going to come through there so that they'll get it right to their inbox. It's a way that we can directly, it's difficult. We have no way of directly, we can't send a letter to everybody in their house. So how do we communicate directly? Email's the best way. So if we have your email, we can let you know what's going on. Again, to the left-hand side, got a question. Basically click that. It automatically takes you to an email. It takes you to a prompt. You email us any questions you have. It comes directly to somebody who's there to answer the calls, is there to answer the questions. Usually not counting weekends. If it's during the week, 24 hours, you should have an answer back to whatever question you have. But it's monitored. It's not going into my mailbox where I'm in the middle of a million things and I don't necessarily see it. It's going to somebody whose one of their jobs is to monitor that email. So it's a way to get an answer pretty quick. If you're doing it within business hours, you may get it back within hours, all right? Or it could be 24 hours. If it's weekend, it's not gonna happen until Monday or holidays. We're not monitoring it. But again, it's getting done as quick as we can. I guess I'll keep going down the left-hand side. Request and register. You wanna host a neighborhood cleanup? You would click this, hit a button, it'll take you to a form. You fill out the form, tell us when you want to do it. And Pine Hills is known for doing their cleanups. You do great cleanups. Tell us what you need. You need rakes, brooms, shovels, garbage bags. You need gloves, whatever it is that we can help. That sets it in motion. That way, that email goes directly to the person who's in charge of it. We'll call you back and say, hey, Virginia, I know you want to do a cleanup. This is what I can give you. Whatever. So it's all there. You put all the information in. In the past, what I've heard from some people is, I don't know who to call. I call and leave a message. Nobody calls me back. By using this, it goes directly to the person who's supposed to do it. And with that, we've also got some redundancies built in where it goes to multiple people just in case that person's on vacation. So, so it works well. Request meeting attendance. So for something like this, John got me directly, but you know what? Anybody who wants to request a meeting, they can go on here. Again, that email comes directly to me anyway, because I'm the one that usually attends these meetings. But again, it's a way to do it. Street light change request really has nothing to do with DGS, but it's a quality of life issue that everybody wants to know. Again, this will take you to an online form, fill it out, explain it, and then it goes to actually the planning department who maintains our street lights and works with the company that actually does any sort of repairs or things that need to be done. And then finally on that request and register is our hazardous waste drop off. There's nothing on there right now. It's actually going to give you an error message because we recently, with the launch of the new website, it's being fixed. Actually, probably by Monday it'll be fixed, and we'll have on the new form for everybody to do it. But if you're going to register, we do ask everybody who attends our hazardous waste events to pre-register because we need to have information. We need to know how many people are coming. We need to have information. So what this will do, you fill out the form, sends us the info. And then not only sends us the info, but it'll shoot you back a certification form that you will fill out and bring with you. Makes it easier. In all the years we've been doing this, one of the things that we used to do is we'd have you sign something and you'd find your name on the sheet and have you sign. It just took a lot longer. Now you hand the sheet. During COVID, I don't believe we did the sheet. What we did is said, just put your license to the window. Don't even open the window. More than likely, if we're still at that spot this year, we'll have the events, and that's probably what we'll do. But future, we're supposed to. DEC regulations say that we're supposed to get something signed that you're certifying it's coming from a household, and that's why we do the certification forms. Like anything, we'll stall it because of what's going on now, but that's how we do it. Applying for a permit, street opening, sidewalk permits, and right-of-way access permits are all done through DGS. We handle those. What this does is it takes you to those forms to print out. We currently do not have an online way of doing that. By the end of 2021, I guarantee you it will be online. Whether you're paying for it online or just submitting the application with you mailing in a payment, that could be the possibility. I'm hoping Treasurer's Office and Downtown gets that going where they can connect it to payment. So you could do it all in one shot. You don't even have to do anything paper. Right now, what that'll do for you for those three the street opening, the right-of-way access, and the grading permits. All they do is you print out the forms, but they're right there as opposed to having to search for them. Again, that's something we are working on. It is on the list to do. At the very least, it would just be an online form that you would submit and then have to follow up with your check. Moving on, the website links. These are just some of the websites we think that, you've got the City of Albany website. Albany Recycles is still a separate website at this point. Adopt a Tree website. It's a separate page with a separate URL. We wanted to make sure we were going direct for that program for the 2025 so that nobody could say, oh, I was in the middle of the city's website and I couldn't find where to go. That way, having a direct URL takes you right to where you need to be. And you can also purchase a tree, the shared tree cost on that site. And that is an online form. You just have to mail your check in. Okay. Same thing if you want to sponsor one, same thing. So it's just, it's kind of there, if you want to donate to the tree fund, that can be done as well. So, and that website is being updated as we can, as we're planting trees and as we're doing, that's also being done. So it's a good thing. And the spring is going to be a good time. We got a very generous donation for that, from the TUI Foundation. And, so that put some money in the coffers. So we're going to be able to plant quite a few trees this spring. And then again, in the fall, we're going to have a good year with tree planting. And we are, obviously we're working with your neighborhood association with that group. I don't know what you call it, but that set group that we met with to talk about trees and street furniture and things. So we'll be working with you to come up with some of those locations as well. So then to the middle, See-Click Fix. See-Click Fix is the way that the city asks you to communicate a complaint or a problem to us. You see it, we would like you to use See-Click Fix. The system is used multiple ways in the department. We still want you to use it. This does not replace that. What this does is just a good way to launch it. You don't have to go to See-Click Fix and then find the City of Albany on the list. This takes you right where you need to be. You fill out the form if you need it. The best thing to do, everybody has a smartphone today, use your smartphone when you're in front of it. It puts the lat long right in, it puts the location in, you put the information in, and you know what, we're on our way to getting the info and trying to get it moving. So this is just a way to do it. This next section is potholes. If you see a pothole, this still is See-Click Fix. It directs you directly where you need to go for See-Click Fix. And then we've got somebody that's on staff that takes those, a special somebody who takes those, somebody that's given to, who's monitoring our streets and taking a look. Because in some cases, street depressions are not potholes. They're issues with street digs from one of those permits that might have been done by anybody, including National Grid or whoever, okay? So we need to figure out, on our end, we need to figure out who exactly is to blame for that. And it's not always the city. Who is it and what do we need to do? So again, we've got a, that'll also, when you submit it, it goes directly where it needs to go. The Adopt a Tree we talked about, but again, just another way to go right to it, learn more, that takes you to it. It's just, again, people like graphics. They like to see it. It jumps right out at them. We do have a Facebook. That button takes you right to our Facebook page. We ask everybody to like our Facebook page. We communicate a lot on Facebook. We share a lot on Facebook, and it's only going to happen more and more as we move forward. We also have a YouTube page. Not that many things are on it yet. There's a couple videos, and we don't have a lot of people subscribing to it. So we ask you to subscribe. I promise you in 2021, there's going to be a lot of video content being added. We're taking a different approach. I think, if anything, the pandemic has taught us we can't always be in person. So a lot of things need to be done via video to explain it. We've got plans in the works to do several videos on a lot of different topics, which gives you information, detailed information on how we do certain things, certain attributes of a program, whatever it might be. But videos, I think, are going to be more part of the future. And that's important. I know you guys have a YouTube station. You tape all your meetings and stuff. It's a good idea. You're going to see a little bit more of that coming out of DGS as the year progresses. This next section is extremely important. DGS codes. So each one of these sections, and I'll open like, let me see, I'll open like this, that's 8. Let's do property maintenance. Okay, so this area basically tells you all properties must be maintained free of heavy overgrowth or accumulation of weeds. Click here to figure out what the code is. What this does is this takes you to a separate website. Again, the whole idea is this is links. With a portal, it's not necessarily does the information live on that page. It lives elsewhere, but the portal connects you to where you can find the info. And that's the idea, as opposed to you go to the city website and you could do the exact same thing with the website, but this is all right on one page. It'll take you to other pages, and there are internal pages to this site, but for the most part, you're going to find that you're linking to other pages, which give you more information. So basically, this brings you to generalcode.com, which actually gives you all of the language, word for word, of what is that code is all about. So you'll get to see that. So that's good. Then the final part, which is probably, I think, my favorite part of this, is the FAQ section. Okay, so it's broken down into different things. Let's go to recycling, which is my favorite topic. If most everybody knows on this call, I was director of recycling for over 10 years, and I still oversee the recycling program. So it's one of my favorites. So it just says learn more about it. Now you hit this, it does take you to an internal page, but when you're on this internal page, it's going to give you different questions about recycling that you may have. Okay, what can I recycle curbside? Well, it explains it. You pull it down. When is the trash? What's considered bulky items? Whatever it is. Okay, and it gives you answers to all of it. And in some cases, it'll then also, like this one here is, does the city collect unwanted electronics, and how can I dispose of them? Well, here's the way you can do it. And if you click for a full list of locations, click here. Takes you to another website that will give you that information. So it tries to answer these questions. It tries to be helpful and be in one place, which is what I like about it. You don't have to jump around. And then on the bottom of this page, and this is one of the reasons I chose this too, is that I try to put all of the brochures or flyers or any printed materials we may have pertaining to that subject. This does live right on this site, not on another, although it'll be also on the recycling site as well. But and it's in graphics. So again, people like graphics. They don't want to read a million things, but that's kind of the way that works. You click on whichever one of these, and it will open it up in a PDF, and you can download it, print it out. The same here. This is a brochure that we did that actually is being updated, and we're going to have a new one very soon. But we created a brochure several years back called "Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, Refuse." Refuse to buy it, or if it's not recyclable or made of recycled content. It's a really good brochure that talks about how to do these, mainly three things. It's reduce, reuse, and refuse. Recycling is just a small part of it, but and it was translated into these other languages, as you can see. So that's part of the other program. The mayor has asked that we have as many of these in the different languages. They've identified the languages that are here as the ones that are represent the immigrant population here in the city, that these are the different languages. And so these can all be downloaded as well. So, and then finally on these FAQ pages, you can send your questions. So while you're here, you don't have to go back to the main page and go and click, and pretty much these go to where they need to go. So recycling and waste collection are going to go to the recycling staff. Send a question about potholes, it's going to go to somebody else. So when you send your question here, it's sending it to a different location so that you're getting the direct person that needs to get it. That's huge. How many times have you called down to DGS or called any department and they're like, well, I can't help you, but so-and-so can, I'll have them call you back. And then 3 days later, you still don't have the answer. We live in a world where everybody wants immediate information. So this way, it's going to streamline it so that you're going to get your call, your answer, your question to the answer to your question quicker. Because if you're in this and you hit send it your question, opens up a box, you fill it out, it goes to the person that is going to best answer that question. So so those are the frequently asked questions, and there's several categories here. You got waste collection, recycling, plowing, trees, street maintenance, parks, property maintenance, and again, ask questions. If you do not see it on here, I don't care which one of these buttons you hit, put it on the contact us, or even when you're in here, if you don't see it under streets, you think I want an answer to that question, send it to us. If what you say, if the question you're asking is something that sounds good, we'll add it to the portal. Okay, we'll add it, because that's the only way we're going to know what you're thinking. So ultimately, that is the portal. And again, there's plans to add surveys. There's plans to add like a tracker. What I'm really excited about is, again, people don't know what's going on when it comes to your streets. You don't know what streets. So not only will it list the streets that are being done, but when they start to mobilize to come onto your street, we'll change that tracker that it's being mobilized. When I have a date and I know they're starting to do that street on this day, okay, and I get those up from the contractors, I can then put it on mobilizing on this date. So it's going to be more direct information. So check it out. It'll be up in the spring. And where on the portal, I don't know yet. We have to see where it fits, but it'll definitely be something that you can go to, and you can check it every week, and you'll know, maybe what streets are going to be and where they are in the order of things. So, I guess questions, right?
Yes, thank you, Frank. If you have a question for Frank, please ask him. I can't see the other people because you're still sharing the screen. Maybe if you stop that, then we can see.
Oh, I
if
can.
someone-
All right, we're done here, right? Everybody's seen it? Then I will stop my share. All right.
So, questions for Frank?
Yeah, I have a question. We have a listserv. Pine Hills Neighborhood Association has a listserv. So we should probably subscribe to the portal, right?
Absolutely.
Then things would go to then we wouldn't have to be sending them out because we use that portal. All of our members are part of that listserv. Okay, so.
Yeah, you can do that, or you can give me all the names. I mean, if you want to give me all the names that are part of your listserv, I'll then incorporate them into this, and we can do it. But I can also send it if there is somebody that
Yes, sir. Thank you.
it isn't there anymore. I can still send it to, like, if you have a Pine Hills neighborhood at email address. That's
Yes, right.
Also make sure that's on there so that just in
Yeah,
case.
that's what
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
That would mean,
Virginia does a lot of that, but I mean, this is just a way of making it sort of an automatic thing. So
Yes.
anything you send out would automatically go to the listserv. But then I'm sure she'll be picking up lots of other things that she might see elsewhere. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to double check on that.
Yep.
other questions for Frank?
Yeah, this is Eric Shadow. I had a couple questions. The couple weeks ago, I guess you guys were short people, and they were taking the recycling and chucking it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't just, I understand it, but it might, they might want to just leave it, versus, at least that's what happened on my street. I'm South Island at Mercer.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just maybe just leave it and just, you said you could use the portal, et cetera, to just let people know that.
Yes. Yes.
know.
And in the future, I think we could possibly do that. I've been with the department 23 years. We have not thrown recycling in the trash probably for the last 18 or longer. Okay. Remember when I first started, we would do that on occasion. We have not done that. I mean, I've been in charge of recycling for probably 14, 15 years now. We have not done it. These are extreme times. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not something we'd like to do. But bottom line was, and I have to ask this question, and I don't mean to sound sarcastic. Do you want to go outside, slip and fall in your street and break your leg? Or do you want your recycling to go for the one time in decades into the garbage? We had to prioritize. We were down 25% of our staff because of COVID. This hit us around Christmas, so you've got some vacations and stuff like that. It was a record storm, 28 inches of snow that fell over an 8-hour period. This was a record thing, and we had to do it. So yeah, I'd love to get to a point where when we know we're doing it, please don't put it out. So somebody said, and again, this is my institutional knowledge, it helps me here. They said, why don't you just say during snow emergencies, you're not going to collect recycling? First of all, this happened after the snow emergency because we were cleaning up for a week later, but we did that. And I remember 75%, okay, 75% of the people during the snow emergency put it at the curb. So now you've got recyclables strewn everywhere because nobody listened to the rules, okay? So we're like, all right, fine. Now the 25, then we said, listen, at the end of it, we made a couple of trucks available to pick it up because we don't want it all over the place. We got to get it off the street. Recycling isn't a health hazard, but some people can stretch it and say that it is. So let's get it off the street. Then I got tons of phone calls from the 25% that said, I followed the rules and I didn't get my stuff picked up. So it got to a point where we were like, listen, you know, we had to. So I remember when we did this, I spearheaded this. We went to everybody's blue recycling bin that was on the curb. Took us 2 months to do it. And we put a 2x2 sticker, right? Or whatever it was, a 24-inch sticker on it that said no recycling during a snow emergency. And it listed all the reasons and everything else on it. We educated like crazy. Still 75% of the people didn't do it.
So is that the current? Because I mean, I honestly, I wasn't aware of that, so that's fine. If there's definitely, you know.
Oh no, we stopped doing it. We did it for
Okay.
2 years, 3 years, and we had to stop that procedure because again, nobody was following the procedure. You know, so because of it, it's just. But I'll tell you, I've heard from a lot of people about us putting this out, so everybody saw it. I think when it happened, it only happened 3 days. It happened a Wednesday, Thursday, and a Friday. But guess what? The people that are in a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday route are probably our best recyclers. So we don't want to lose anybody. We don't want anybody to be upset, think that this is what happens. It does not happen. The stuff goes to recycling. Even if you do see it go in the trash, sometimes because trucks go down, we will take a trash truck and we will clean it out and use it for recycling, and it goes to a recycling center. We have not done this, like I said, in so many years, and it's just unfortunate. 2020 was a very, very strange year. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Think out of that one.
Frank, I have a question.
Sure.
And this doesn't directly have to do with the portal, but it does have to do with recycling. I have a question about the grant. I understand that there was a grant submitted by the city to deal with composting household waste.
Yes, food waste.
Food
Yes.
waste. And
So, yep.
could you talk about the status of that? Because we also heard that there was some interest in moving or getting a site somewhere uptown, hopefully maybe in Pine Hills.
Yeah.
Can you talk about
So-
that?
Yeah, so basically we applied for a grant 2 years ago. It was 2 years actually ago that we actually applied for it. And it was a food waste. It's a food waste composting, food waste reduction, and food donation grant. Okay, so it's an education grant. The first thing we wanted to do when we heard about the grant, we were very excited because we said, let's start a pilot program. Okay, for us to pay a company that's already doing food waste recycling, like Radix or others that are doing it, and the city pay for some residents that want to do this to actually recycle their food waste or compost their food waste. The grant was not allowed, did not allow for that. It didn't allow for any processing. It didn't allow for, what it allowed for was education, and it allowed for education, and it allowed for some purchasing of equipment. So if we wanted to start our own program, we could use this partially for equipment, but it was structured in a way that you could only get a certain amount of money of the grant that you got could be used for this, a certain amount for this. It's not like it was, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, use it any which way, as long as it's one of these things. It would say that if you're going to buy, you can only use 30% of the grant for buying stuff and 30%, So basically that was kind of the problem with this grant. But we still applied for it. I said, let's still do it. I don't like leaving any money on the table, not these days. So I said, let's do it. So what we've come up with, and we were going to announce this in two different stages. The first stage was going to focus on part of it, and then the second stage was going to focus on another part of it. Well, then 2020 happened. So we basically spent the time in 2020 getting ready with the second part of it, and we were going to be announcing a new program on or around Earth Day. Okay, that will be an educational component. There will not be, it's not a program where people are going to get able to go to one of these recycling places and get a full service compost. It's not going to be that, because we can't do it for the grant. But it's going to be education on how to do it in the backyards. It's going to be education on what to do, how to do it, really doing that. And then there will be some drop-off locations that we're going to identify that aren't ours. The city is not participating. The city isn't creating drop-off food waste drop-off stations. What we're going to do is work with some of the existing drop-off locations to educate people that they exist and what their procedures are. All right. So let me give you an example. Radix is a great one in the South End. They have a program. they have programs. What we would do is make the information available on how to use their program, make it available to our residents. So it's not something we're going to say, well, we're going to put a drop-off location. We're not. Now, that could happen, but I don't know that there's going to be enough money for that. So it was a $225,000 grant. It was a 3 years. We're already 2 years into the grant. We think we could possibly get an extension because we were awarded the grant, and then there was a lot of questions the state had. And because of that, it took longer to get a signed contract. We actually lost an entire season doing that. So, and then you're getting into the winter and we can't do anything. So so that's kind of the thing. So I think we might be able to get some time on the end, and with 2020 and COVID, maybe even more so, but that's where we're at right now. So
the ones that, there are other ones besides Radix. There's apparently one down by Tivoli Park or Tivoli.
yeah, there's a couple. I don't have them all to memory. We've got a list because, with any of them, again, all the city's going to do is going to identify them for residents. We're not taking any liability with it. We're not telling you to go any space specific. We're going to say these are locations you can take your stuff. Part of the education is to educate people on how to do it in their backyards and identifying places you can go to pay for full service. So you've got a couple of different things. So we'll be announcing kind of everything and have everything ready for that April date. And a lot of part of it is education. We need to educate people on, just what is food waste composting? What do you put in? What don't you put in? How do you handle it? How do you introduce oxygen? I mean, just all the things that, how to do it on your own, and then make available information on places where you can do just a drop off, take your stuff and drop it off and they'll handle it. Or it may be a place that is full service where they'll pick it up at your house, like Radix does that. So we'd make that available to people and say, hey, do you know Radix does this and it's full service? So, and I know Sonny Von Tiedemann, who's our recycling coordinator, he is working on that. He's coming up with locations. I know he's got a couple already, and that's where we're at.
Hello, sir. My name's Billy Stanley. Me and my buddy here, Bob, we went through 9 yards of composting, well, probably closer to 12 yards of compostable materials in an alley office between South Pine and South Alice.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to start a composting site on Cortland Avenue underneath the power line next to a couple of neighbors of ours, Roger and Ron. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering if the city could supply us with wood chips to do that.
Yeah,
we're not a nonprofit, but we do everything you're talking about, and if we had more wood chips, we'd be able to incorporate more food waste.
Yeah,
we can drop it off there as well.
Yep. If you become a food waste composting site, obviously, you know what? There's regulations that need to be done through the state. From DEC, you can't have more than 1,000 a week. You can't have more than 1,000 pounds come through, or you have to be permitted, right? That's like the minimum qual. And obviously there's some, obviously if you're taking an area that isn't already, you need to have zoning needs. They need to zone it. Make sure that you're meeting the zoning and all of that, because you don't want issues with the buildings and regulatory compliance where that lot's not meant. But if you do all of that and you become an actual, and you can prove that compost is going to the community, or you have a community-based thing to it, we would have no problem supplying you with wood chips. It's just that, and that's where the portal comes in, where people request it all the time. But we do ask questions on that. Are you a non-for-profit? If you're not, what are the wood chips? Because what we can't do, everything that we have, the city has, obviously, how do we do that? It's taxpayer funded. So we can't turn around and give taxpayer funded materials that come from our compost facility to a for-profit business, right? It's not legal. So we have to make sure that there's a public benefit when we do any donations. And that's why the portal is very important. Did we lose him?
I'm right here.
Oh, you're still there? Oh, there you go. It moved around. Okay. The portal is very important. That's why the portal is very important, because it asks those questions so that we can quickly get you what you need. And, we have the answer. So yeah, we would be happy to donate as long as all of that stuff is met. We'd be happy to donate it.
So is that guy Sonny the one who Billy would work with in terms of getting these things answered or?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, you're looking, basically what you're looking from the city is just wood chips. So if you've got a facility and, you know, you can fill out the form, you know, fill out the application, not the application, but the form that just says, tell us to answer those questions. And you're going to attest that this stuff is going, there's a public benefit, then we can get you the wood chips.
Okay, so is the form on the neighborhood portal?
Yes, the form is on the neighborhood portal. Yep.
Title of it.
Can I ask a question, or not ask two things, just to sort of lower your blood pressure? I read a statistic once, which is always stuck in my mind, that you have to tell people 27 times to do something before it actually sticks. So just always be aware of that.
Thank you, Marilyn, because that has been my experience as a public servant for 23 years. That has been my experience.
Right. Well, actually, you know, they actually gave a number to it. I don't know how they came up with that, but anyway. And then the other thing is, it was I was very, very happy in our neighborhood. I live not too far from St. Rose. Anyway, to see your guys out clearing the corners of after the snow, after the snowstorm. Of course, it was really tough because it got really cold and they were working very hard. But I think that you should just send that as soon as the snow starts. If it's going to be a significant snowfall, just keep pumping it out to say, clean the corners, because it's really awful when you end up walking to the grocery store or whatever, and it's really tough. But anyway, so
well, you know what? I thank you for that. The corners have become an issue for the department and the city over the last couple of storms, and there's been a lot of conversation. Matter of fact, there's a Common Council caucus and a committee meeting next Wednesday that we'll be attending to talk about the storm and to talk about the some new legislation that Kathy Fahey in the 7th Ward has proposed about what we can do about getting those ADA ramps and crosswalks, the corners, opened. And yes, we want residents to, it's their responsibility via the code to clean it. But I'm going to play the other side of the coin on this, is that it is difficult to move some of this snow because the only thing we can do is plow to the curb, and we sometimes do. And it creates a foot of snow, a mound that's too heavy, it's too hard. And unless you've got a regular snowblower sometimes can't get through it. So it becomes an issue. The issue that we have is we do not have a problem getting people out, and that'll be a part of our plan. The problem is this: with a snowstorm like this that fell 3 inches an hour in an 8-hour period and deposited 24 inches for this storm, and then we had the one in December of 19 that wasn't much better. We're going to get to that, but we got to clean the streets first. We got to get the streets, move snow out of the parking lane so people can move around. We got to get that done first, but it doesn't happen. To get it done, it's not going to happen in 24 hours. And that's when people want to start moving around again. It snows all night. They want to get out. They want to walk, or they don't want to take their cars out because the snow is all over. So they want to walk, or they need to walk. It's a very difficult thing. We are actually looking to put it out to bid to a private company to see if we get somebody who's willing to do that, to punch some holes, especially in areas like Madison Avenue, Western Avenue, New Scotland Avenue, the main thoroughfares where people are going to go, to see if we can get them punched open with machinery. The problem is we can get to it, but we're going to get to it 3 days later, So, and it's the same thing with sidewalks that aren't shoveled by the people who live there. If they're not shoveled, we have to do it. It's a code enforcement action. We don't need to give them notice, thanks to Leah Golby. We do not have to give them notice anymore. And so we just push right through, and we go down the street and we bill and fine and we get it done. But even getting the guys out to do that, it takes time after the storm is done because we're still clearing out streets. So, but thank you.
Good to hear.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime you want me to speak, I there's always something going on at DGS. I need to get the information. We want the information to get out there to the residents. Your neighborhood association is always pleasant to talk to. I enjoy it. So anytime that you need to, please, by all means, let me know and I'll be here.
Great. Well, normally we post these after we're done, and if indeed there is a successful recording of this meeting, we'll be doing so. So I'll send you a link. You're going to be a star on YouTube, Frank. Absolutely.
Oh, hey, listen. Hey, you know what? If I could only be as cool as you, John, that's all I hope for. And the other thing too is if anybody thinks of any questions, I think most everybody has my email, but you can, John, you could share it with everybody need be, or that you can go through the portal and ask a question. They'll get back to me, or just give me a call. All right.
Great. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna sign off. All right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yes. So sorry for the technical problems, but we have achieved a workaround, and so we're going to go back to the agenda where we were. At tonight's meeting, we're also having our 2020 annual meeting, which is something we do usually in November. What can we say? 2020 was a kind of messed up year. That's the theme, part of the theme of the annual report, but we apologize for doing it late. So the three components of the annual report are an annual report from me, the president, and we also have an annual financial report. Our treasurer, Eric Shadow, will give. Both will likely be brief. His may be briefer than mine. And following that, we need to re-elect to three-year terms the 6 board members whose terms expired in 2020. Those are Marilyn Douglas, Leah Galby, Perry Janjulis, Carolyn Keefe, Lori Lehman, and Paul Lundberg. Of those, Marilyn and Leah are present tonight. The others are not, but that's okay. That means they can issue no objections to their re-election. So when we get to that section, we will ask everyone present, whether you're a board member or a Pine Hills member. If you are a guest and not a member of Pine Hills, then you should not vote. But all of the board members and member guests should vote on that issue. So I'll give the annual report briefly. And this was why I had 2 machines open, was so I could see both of them. Okay, so 2020 began fairly propitiously. We had adopted new bylaws, a new code of ethics, conflict of interest and whistleblower policies. Following the reopening of the Madison, we had a night out at the Madison in January. But we only had 2 in-person meetings in 2020. We had Pat Fahey in, Walkable Albany, the police athletic lead, Sam Wells from the city, and a couple of others. And we were interrupted basically. After February, we hit March, and everyone knows what was going on then. So everything we were doing kind of stopped, at least for a while. We had no meetings in March, April, or May. The board began meeting using Zoom during that period. And we were concerned, okay, what are we going to do in this new environment? The board did adopt for 2020 a no fee policy just for that year. This was after most members had renewed, but newer returning members were encouraged to do so without fee. 10 people did, which actually isn't too small an amount out of a total membership of 70 to 200, depending on how you count it. But we did a number of other things. We committed to continuing online meetings, and we have had 4. We resumed in June 2020. Mayor Sheehan joined us for that meeting. And then we had meetings in September, October, and November. We usually defer the month of December on a meeting, have a holiday party usually, but of course we did not do that this year given the pandemic. But we committed to new communications methods, including our website and social media. We have had a Facebook page for some time. We've moved on to Twitter. We are working on a new website, which is almost ready. We just haven't quite got it copied over to our previous URL or web location, pinehillsna.org. If you go there right now, you will see a message to the effect that it's not up. We hope that will change tomorrow or the next day or very soon as the URL is transferred over. We are also looking at new approaches to communications. Marilyn raised our, she referred to it as listserv. It's a Google group. It's the same sort of thing. It allows people, our membership, to engage in conversations and also serves as something that sends out emails. One thing we want to do is survey the membership on that as to how they think that's working, how they would like it to work, how they think that communication should run. And we will be doing that within the first quarter, I think, of 2021. Another thing we're thinking of is doing a monthly email newsletter. A lot of organizations, including other neighborhood associations, do so. It's generally a substitute for a physical printed newsletter, which we haven't done for over a year now. We like to do so we can summarize the big picture news that we think you need to know. It's also a way to help promote neighborhood businesses, and in particular our members who help sponsor us. So look for that in 2021. And we will probably be serving you too. We were, I have to say, we were the first neighborhood association to hold online public meetings. And we are also, as far as I know, the only one that records them all and puts them on our website. We have or puts them on our YouTube channel. On our new website, they will also be available. We couldn't do that using the old system we had. So we do have a YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch meetings you missed, or if you want to refresh yourself on what Frank said about the portal, you can go back to that. So there are a lot of reasons to do that. We expect to continue doing that. I'm not going to go through all the meetings and all of that, but I want to talk about a little bit about the advocacy efforts of the Neighborhood Association this year. We supported Albany County, I forget which local law it was, but the sparkling devices ban. We worked with Baroro and other legislators on that. That legislation did pass. We opposed, with some reservations, a proposal ordinance 15.81-19 by Councilman Hoey that basically would have eliminated the planning board's ability to give waivers, and some changes were wanted in building approvals. The opposition was not to the concept, it was more in the execution of it. There had not been the consultation you'd want to see with the planning board itself, as well as the planning staff. And happily, that one ended very well. I don't know how influential our intercession was, but it seemed that it was, because the legislation was altered and now is adopted in a way that really is very helpful, that specifies where the planning board can and cannot issue waivers, and also specifies how their conditions for building approval should run. Really a good step forward. So we'll chalk up 2 wins there. The association also participated in a mask up, social distancing press conference with the mayor, the police chief, and a number of other folks. That was following the somewhat notorious party on Hudson Avenue, 4th of July party that became a super spreader event. And we do have to credit also, and perhaps Luke Rumsey will mention this when he talks, but a lot of work that was done by the State University, St. Rose, and the other college campuses in Albany to help educate, sensitize, and raise awareness among their students to the seriousness of the COVID pandemic. And a lot of good work was done there. In connection with that, we advocated for increased APD patrols in the student neighborhood. That did happen, as it had the year before. We supported the city's tree program, which Frank Zeoli spoke about. And we also worked to make sure during the height of the pandemic, there was a list that the city put out on their website of restaurants where you could get takeout. So we worked to make sure that all the Pine Hills restaurants were listed there. So that's kind of the summary of the big year, as well as with what you might expect to see in 2021. As always, we will be communicating with you on that, because what you want to see is equally important. Now, Eric, are you ready to give your report?
He already did it.
Oh, he did that during the period I was.
During the time you were banned from the island. You were, but yeah, I did it. Yeah, I'll summarize it and send you a list of what
You
it
don't
is.
have to,
Basically, I
like-
mean, we really spent very little money this year. We do have a couple of donations we have to send out and then reimburse you for your
Sure. No.
expenses you've had.
I think it would be good, though. You offered to type it out so we can include it in the minutes.
Sure,
I think we should-
definitely want to do that. Sure.
And maybe
Alright.
John might want to do that too. I don't know.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to go to the recording. I just have you scribbled notes. So-
That's it. Okay, well, I'm not, we'll see how much I get in there in the minutes, but yeah, the recording is good. Send everybody to the recording. Okay.
That is- Assuming we have a recording, we're counting on the library for it because that was sort of what started the trouble. I couldn't make a recording as normally I do. Anyway,
I could have given you the permission, but I didn't want to change it since I had started recording when the other people were giving their presentations. But it's still recording now,
Yay,
so we should be all set.
yay.
fantastic. So now we're going to move to the re-election of board members, and I will make a motion, and then someone will need to second it, and then I will ask for a vote of everyone present. Virginia, if you could record that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, but I just have a question here. Is it supposed to be members? I mean, this is supposed to be that members vote on the board, and other than Luke and Joe, I don't know if they're members of the association, and if they're the only,
Well, let me, I did speak to that a little bit. Yeah, Luke and Joe cannot vote. I don't believe they're members.
yeah.
But everyone who's here, who's on the board, who are also members, and any members who are here can vote. Usually, like last time, the majority of members voting were also board members, but all Pine Hills members are allowed and encouraged to vote. So you'll have to record everyone who votes, and maybe
Okay, it just seems kind of weird to me that we're doing something that's kind of not according to our bylaws, because,
well, no, Virginia, it very much is according to the bylaws. It's absolutely what our new bylaws require.
but they're
They
not,
require that all members present at the annual meeting vote. And that's
okay,
the only thing we have.
all right.
It is actually the only action on which the members do vote. Other than that, all
Right.
votes board.
Yeah.
But when the board was appointed last year, you could look up the recorded vote. It was, I think, mostly board members who voted because that's who was at the meeting.
Yeah, it just seems a shame to me that, and we're a membership organization, and maybe this is just because nobody, I don't know, but not to have even one member other than board members.
I think we have,
Okay, never mind, forget it. That's a separate issue. We'll vote, everybody votes, and I'll write down all the votes. Okay, let's
just so everyone, to remind everyone, prior to this, the members were to vote on the officers, and the board was selected by the board.
right.
So we became a 5013C. The requirements of the New York State not-for-profit law required that the board be elected by members,
Right.
which we've done. And so this happened once
Suni,
before.
Albany is an institutional member, and since Luke represents Albany, you could say he was a member.
Okay, well, there you go. Luke is a member, so he gets to vote on these other people in addition to all of us, which are basically,
Now,
yeah.
Joe is an honorary member. We extend membership to people whose membership is beneficial to us, like the police and the library. So Joe is on my membership list, and I think he should be empowered to vote too.
Oh, well, that's great.
I think we actually made Joe a lifetime member.
I think we did, yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's great.
Well, if we
fulfills
didn't, if we didn't, we are now. But I
Okay,
think,
let's go.
Well, I'm awfully
All I want to know is
glad
how come Luke Ramsey shows up here twice? He's only getting one vote.
I think that would be appropriate. Yeah, just one vote per person.
One vote. per person. Okay,
And that will give us, Virginia, approximately the ratio we had when voting on members last year. Thank you, John Hammer. We do not have an attorney for the organization, but you will suffice for tonight's meeting. I'm now going to make a motion.
I'm on billable hours, by the way, so let's wrap this up.
You're a volunteer. There is no payment to Pine Hills volunteers. All right, I am making a motion that we reappoint to 3-year terms the board members Marilyn Douglas, Leah Golby, Perry Genjulis, Carolyn Keefe, Lori Lehman, and Paul Lundberg. Do I have a seconder, please?
I second.
Seconded by John Hammer. I will ask all in favor to raise their hands. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Virginia may be noting all this. I'm also going to ask if anyone is opposed. Any abstentions? Well, thank you. The board members are reelected. It appears to have been unanimous. Virginia will keep the scorecard, and we've completed the annual meeting. I'm feeling very much relaxed. Now we go to our committee and officers reports. We're going to start with Luke Rumsey. I do want to say part of the reason I'm doing this remotely is that we had a meeting today at 3:30 p.m. that Luke called. It was in response to requests from Councilman Anane and the owners of the J&J investment properties. They are very concerned about safety in the neighborhood. They have a lot of apartments, primarily renting to students or perhaps totally renting to students. And there have been several serious criminal incidents, including a murder right in our neighborhood and right in the student neighborhood. And they are apparently hearing a lot from parents and students concerned about this, and are making what I think is a very public spirited gesture in terms of being willing to donate some money to help. So we had an interesting conversation. I think Luke would be better prepared than me to summarize it, but I wanted to kind of tee the situation up that way. And by the way, we had a Zoom meeting that came off without a hitch, did it not, Luke?
Yeah, it actually worked very well. Thank you, John, for joining us for that meeting. And just to speak on that point, I think we're very preliminary, obviously, in our discussions with J&J Investment Properties. But as John had mentioned, they had reached out to me late last week in regards to the homicide that occurred on the corner of Hamilton and Ontario a couple weeks ago. And John had mentioned that the landlords for J&J had heard from several parents and some students who were concerned about that incident specifically, and a couple other incidents that had occurred over the past 4 or 5 months in the Pine Hills area involving guns. And so we did have a meeting this afternoon. We evaluated what the interest level was on behalf of J&J to donate money, what their idea was, which was predominantly to invest in cameras, which would be prominently displayed on higher traffic street corners like Hudson and Ontario, Hudson and Quail, as well as Hamilton and Ontario. And also to create some level of awareness so that individuals, as they were walking past the pole cameras or whatever they may be, would understand that the area was in some way, shape, or form being monitored by the residents, right? By the residents, by the Albany Police Department, et cetera, so that hopefully it would deter people from causing violent crime in the future. So we do have another meeting set up early February. I've asked Officer Biette from the Albany Police Department to look into the availability of a mobile pole camera system, which potentially could be put out on 1 or 2 of those corners in the first couple weeks of February, just given the fact that our students are arriving in the area very shortly. And he has acknowledged he's going to do that. Owusu is going to be looking into a grant that the city had won for cameras specifically, and see if that might apply. And I think one of the things that eventually we will have to take into consideration is the neighbors, willingness or desire to have additional cameras in the area. If there was signage, what that would look like in the future, and kind of go from there. So still very preliminary in discussions, but we are looking into it. There are some concerns out there in regards to student safety in the area. And so, thank you, John, for bringing that up. Any questions about that, concerns that I can answer off the top of your heads right now?
Was the person who was killed, was he a student at SUNY?
No, he was not. And what I would say is all of the incidents that we spoke about this afternoon in our meeting were not directly connected to current students at the University of Albany, right? So there was a shooting that occurred in August, I believe, on the corner of Hudson and Ontario inside a residence. Those were two non-students. It was an isolated situation. There was a shots fired incident on Halloween weekend. On the corner of Hudson and Ontario. Again, no information that leads me to believe that the individual who was shooting the firearm up into the air was a student, but certainly there were students in the area at the time when the shots were fired. And then the 15-year-old male that was shot on the corner of Hamilton and Ontario, where the Albany Police Department was able to very quickly apprehend the 18-year-old suspect. Again, no students involved in that incident, and now the most recent homicide. Where again, no students were involved. Nonetheless, I think, there are concerns about, anytime there is a shooting in the area, where are those bullets traveling, in what direction could they strike somebody, astray, and so it's certainly valid. And if there's anything that we can do to support, as I brought up with the other members on the meeting this afternoon, if there's ideas, if there's suggestions out there about other programs that we could get involved in or initiatives. I definitely want to hear about them. We certainly do a lot of education with our students. As you all know, their off-campus ambassador program, doing some door-to-doors, the Albany Police Department going around and talking to students in the beginning of each semester and prior to breaks. But, if there's other things that we could be doing, specifically if some of the landlords are willing to chip in and pay for some additional cameras or something along those lines, I'm certainly open to that discussion.
Joe, maybe you can answer this. CCTV cameras, is that legal for businesses to have in their establishments, or even in some of the apartment blocks? Can they? Is that legal for people to do? I mean, I know it certainly happens in London and many other cities in Europe where there's a lot of coverage, but I don't know if that's a legal thing that businesses can do here.
Marilyn, what exactly is the question of legality?
Well, no, I mean, I don't, I mean, just because, I mean, here it's like, my rights, and you can't take pictures, and I mean, all that kind of thing.
Any place that's considered to be a public area, you have no reasonable expectation to privacy in it.
Oh, okay.
And so therefore anyone can video or take pictures in those areas. So there wouldn't be any illegality to that.
Okay.
And it's funny that you mentioned, like, the UK and Europe. A lot of those cities have a lot of cameras. They also have manpower monitoring them on a constant basis.
Right.
It's funny, we were discussing it earlier today, and putting the cameras in really just helps us after the fact. I don't know how much that actually stops, especially when we know that there's cameras in other areas and there's incidents still taking place in the places that aren't being videoed. But that's another conversation for another day.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that these are all good points, and it's something that we're going to be looking at as we move forward. But I guess for the purposes of everybody on the call, certainly if there's other things that you can think of, or suggestions that you have in regards to how the university or how other partners can help to deter, prevent, or stop crime, I guess, in the area, I'm all ears. You know, updates from the university quickly. Our students are going to be coming back. Opening day of classes for us is going to be February 1st. The semester is going to be very similar to the way that it was in the fall. So predominantly remote classes. There will be some in-person instruction as well as a few hybrid courses. Approximately 3,800 students on campus, so well below our capacity. The testing is going to be very strict. We are requiring that all students returning and that will be visiting the campus in any capacity, working, studying, you know, coming here for services like the library or dining. They have to submit proof of a diagnostic test within 10 days of them, within 10 days of them. I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this. So it has to be 10 days before they show up on campus. So within that 10-day window before they get here, they have to submit that documentation. So it couldn't have been a month ago, if that makes sense. And then within 5 days of them actually arriving on campus, they have to submit their first pool sample, which is another test, and then they will have to test each week via that pool sample for the remainder of the semester. So every week the students will be tested. And that is also pertaining to faculty and staff as far as the pool testing goes. So just like the students have to test every week, so do I. And then obviously the masks are going to be enforced. Gathering size, the governor helped us out a little bit, and now it's down to 10. So for off-campus events or gatherings, we've actually written it into our COVID pledge, which is enforceable, that students are not allowed to have gatherings double the size of the current capacity or residential occupancy of the apartment. So if there's 4 people living there, they can't have more than 8. And it caps at a max of 10. So even if there's 10 people living in a house, they can't have 20 people there. It's a max of 10. The testing site on campus is going. It's been going now for quite some time. It's the drive-in testing site. For those that would like to get tested, it is appointment only, and I will put the phone number and the website up in the chat. And then the vaccination site, which is new, that was opened on January 15th, operating on the west side of campus. That's going very well. That's being run by the Department of Health. And again, that is appointment only. You drive up, you'll get out of your vehicle, and then walk into the tents, which is where they'll be doing the vaccinations. And I'll put the phone number and the website in the chat as well in regards to getting vaccinated. Obviously, everybody is probably very well aware of the fact that they are running that on a priority basis. So phase 1A, phase 1B, 65 and older in certain groups. So that website, you'll be able to check your eligibility and then sign up for a testing site. And the Albany site is on the list. E-Tech, it's almost done. We're getting there. It should be occupied this summer at some point. Once I get a final date, I'll let everybody know. The old Albany High, the next phase, which is the first phase of the interior of that building, that's going to be rebid next month. We asked for initial bids on this last year, right when COVID started to happen. The bids that we got back, we felt like they might have been a little high just due to the uncertainty of COVID. But now I think, you know, with this rebid process, we should get a better idea as to, you know, where that's going to land. And our next Committee on University and Community Relations meeting is going to be February 11th at 7 o'clock. And the theme of that meeting, or what we're going to be really focusing on, is violence prevention reduction. So we'll have a speaker to talk about, you know, what's currently happening and, you know, some of the incidents and the statistics, and also, you know, possibly some suggestions on what the CUCR committee can do as a collective to reduce or prevent crime. So, and that's it for me. I don't know if anybody has any questions or concerns. Okay. John, I'll turn it back to you.
So the next report is from Zoning and Code Enforcement, Leah, and I don't know, Carolyn Keefe is not here to the extent if you're going to cover for her on the Midtown Pine Hills.
So for zoning and code enforcement, there are no items on any of the neither the planning board nor the Board of Zoning Appeals nor the Historic Resources Commission. I know at this point when Sergeant Hanson is on the call, she will hop in and talk about code enforcement walks that may have been done. So I don't know if Joe or Luke have information on that. That's information I generally don't have, but I know that APD has been very active the past 6 months with doing code enforcement walks. So sounds like nothing. Sounds like nothing to report on code enforcement right now.
No,
Yep.
we did that all the way through to December. And then with the holidays, we let it, because we were going block by block, and they sent the letters out and they did what they had to do. And so we're waiting for them now to catch up. And then as it starts to get a little warmer, we'll start bringing them back out.
Thank you, Joe. So that's it then for, were you going to do anything for Midtown Pine Hills, Leah, or should we just wait till
Are we
Carolyn
up to
returns?
Midtown Pine Hills on the agenda? Is that what we're up to now?
If
we're up to Midtown Pine Hills, I will say something. Yes.
Yes, your turn again.
Yeah, so Carolyn's not here. She got called away for some family issues. The committees have not been meeting, but at this point, whether or not Carolyn is around, we will hold our Monday general Midtown Pine Hills meeting, which will be Monday at 6:30. And if anybody needs information for that, let me know, because I actually need to figure out whether how she has that set up, because I have my own Zoom account. I'm fine to use my own account, but I have to see how she has the calendar set up. But in any case, we will still hold that meeting. My expectation is that it will be brief, again, Monday, the 25th at 6:30.
On that note, and this is sort of, we do need to renew our annual subscription to Zoom. Eric, was that able to occur?
I haven't caught up with that yet, so I wasn't sure if you had paid that or if it's something that we have to send in. So okay.
No, at this point we have not even a paid subscription, so they can cut us off after 40 minutes. So Leah may get her wish that the meeting won't go long, because it can't. But we do need to get it. Moreover, there's a 20% savings. I'm going to make a pitch here. We need a good way. We have more of our services are electronic. We've got Zoom, we've got Squarespace, we've got Doodle. If we continue that subscription, we might have another. All of these providers, as far as I know, don't take PayPal for payment, and having a credit/credit debit card that we could use, then we could assign that to the accounts and they would be billed automatically. It's something to think about anyway.
Yeah,
Leah,
I was going to check with Trustco. In a quick call, I think yesterday, when I was checking if they'd gotten our stuff fixed up, there is the ability to tie a credit card or debit card to our checking account, which, is appropriate for what we do for these kind of things, to save reimbursing someone. So.
Yeah, and it's just, we wouldn't have to worry. In the past, occasionally, I mean, it happened again this year. Our website went down because we hadn't paid the bill. And it's just, we're all volunteers, we're all busy. Right. People might forget. If we put the credit card on there, it becomes automatic. But anyway, for now, we're still limited to 40 minutes, although Zoom sometimes lets you go beyond that and then tries to get you to sign up for the next level plan. I think most of us know. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. Moving along, we are to the Upper Madison group. Virginia?
So I just want to say, did Joe have nothing to report? Joe, did Joe have anything to report? Or did I miss something?
No, and I mean, we've discussed the violence that's been going on in the area.
Okay,
Unless-
I just want to make
somebody
sure.
else-
that
Yeah,
in the minutes, 'cause
unless
you
somebody
know-
else had a concern that they wanted to talk about.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, well, okay, for Upper Madison, we're pretty excited because we got some sketches back from Chris Spencer about how the Madison parking lot access can be made safer. And we have a letter all ready to go to the Price Chopper facilities guy. And we're going to be mailing that out pretty soon. And hopefully he'll, there happen to be two different options that Chris outlined or made plans for. One of them is cheaper than another one, so hopefully they'll go for one of them. And if that could happen and those things would be part of a redesign, then it would be a lot safer for pedestrians to access the store.
Is Virginia, if I could ask a question, is Upper Madison, or are we somehow attempting to get a public sounding on which of those options might be preferred?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's maybe something Marilyn could add to, but we were just doing this kind of on our own and with Chris's, options. I think it's kind of up to the Price Chopper to decide because that parking lot has been grandfathered. They don't technically have to do anything. So both of them provide safety. The second one is more what you might say fancy. It has some shrubbery and some, if you want to do it up big, here's what you can do, but it doesn't really affect the safety of either one of the plants in terms of access to the store. They both accomplish the same thing. So I think it's up to the Price Chopper to decide if they want to spend money on a fancy thing or if they don't want to do anything. I mean, we looked at the plans, Upper Madison, and we're very happy with them. They make a lot of sense and they don't cost a lot of money. Option one is, it seems very cost effective. They would lose a certain number of parking spaces, but they would gain, safer access, and also, which has to be a win-win for the Price Chopper because it would reduce the number of accidents and possibly, being sued. So I don't know if that's something that would.
No, I just asked. I didn't know. People might be interested to see them too. I saw them, but they're on. You put them on the Google group email, so anyone could look at them there, right?
No, we didn't do that.
Oh, well, maybe that's a thought.
What we're trying to do is to basically find out first what Price Chopper has in mind. And then we would present it. I don't think it really makes much difference what the public thinks, because both of them have the same result, which is basically safer access to the store. What do you think, Marilyn?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's really up to Price Chopper to take a look at this. And I would think that given Owusu's persuasive powers and our urging, that they will see the light, and after 10 years of nagging, maybe choose one of them. And then I think that's a good point at which to say, whoopee, aren't we happy that Price Chopper is going to make their parking area pedestrian friendly and much safer. So I think that would be the route to take.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
just make sure one thing, Marilyn,
we can.
Marilyn, you should make sure you tell them 27 times. Or
yeah, right. I read that and I've never been able to find it again so that I could always tell people. The other thing is, Joe tells me that the The seal on APD is now lit in the evening. So should any of us be out in the evening, we should check that out. Virginia forgot to mention, or maybe was going to mention, that our meeting is next Tuesday at 3:30 at the Madison. I'm hoping Chris has been very accommodating, and we can meet at the Madison Theater. So anyone who is free and interested is more than welcome to attend. There are lots of things that we're looking at in Upper Madison, so that Virginia and I can just retire and sail off into the sunset.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh, and
Okay.
I did allude to, or I mentioned that we did get this historic marker grant that we have yet to receive the information and the check, but that will be coming. So we'll be having a new marker in DeWitt Clinton Park that will be more accurately reflect the DeWitt Clinton Railroad terminus.
Okay.
That's it.
So we're now to treasurer. Eric, I don't know if you need to go again, or did you already do everything you would do?
I think I've taken care of everything. Yeah, we'll just get, like I mentioned earlier, we're still fighting our way through Trustco and their mounds of paperwork. So,
I hear you. Believe me, I understand.
No.
So anyway, but we'll get it straightened out. We'll chain myself to the front door or something, and then we'll.
Yeah, well, we definitely should get a debit card.
Sure.
Or,
yep.
That's, yeah, so that we can pay bills easily. That's
yep.
a good idea.
All right, great. It'll take a while though. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Until then, we will have to keep our meetings to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a great disadvantage. Moving on.
One quick note. If we have a PayPal account, PayPal will give you a debit card, and then it's very easy to pay the bills through the PayPal debit card.
Really?
And then they give you a cash back usually within 24 hours for a percentage of whatever you spent.
Well, that would work because we have a PayPal account. We probably have to put more money there. Eric, I would leave it up to you. Discuss it with, the executive committee, or, but either way that works.
I'll make a note to look to the PayPal debit.
They won't accept like the PayPal payment, like giving your pay. So that.
Right.
That doesn't work.
Right. It has to be somewhere you can fill it out and use the card number as a standard card.
Right.
And Zoom has been very generous in actually allowing these 40-minute things to go on. Apparently, I've been on a couple of meetings where a little flash shows up and says, you don't have, your time is unlimited. So I guess they're being very generous. So we should be all right if we want to talk forever.
They generally do. We sort of need the paid level of account anyway,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
for
No,
meetings. But it's not it's not really that expensive. Zoom. It's like $150 for the annual, less 20%. And we had been paying $15 a month. We shut it off in November, not thinking we were going to need another meeting until January and wanting to do an annual plan. Then we just haven't been able to do it yet. But luckily the library is hosting us, so we're covered for our general meetings, but the next time the board meets or a committee meeting occurs, we have board meetings, we have committee meetings, incidental discussions between groups of members. I do think we want to keep the subscription going.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Another thing, if you sign into TechSoup, you can buy Zoom much cheaper through them. As an
Sign into who?
TechSoup,
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
only open to not-for-profits.
Yeah, right, right. Oh, okay. Yeah,
It costs you $50 to buy a share, and Steamer 10 bought its share back in the 90s. So it seems to be good forever.
mm.
What was your return on that investment, Rick?
Huge. Because
Huge.
most Microsoft licenses are free.
Too late for us to get in on that, I guess.
Yeah, well, every year, if you have to renew, you can do it through TechSoup.
It would require our treasurer to do more paperwork, though. I'm not sure. I'll leave it to his
It's
discretion.
all online, and you get to deal with MicroSlut.
I'm not sure I heard what you said or that I want to. But
you heard exactly what I said.
Okay. Let's move on to membership. John, have there been any surges in enrollment?
No, membership is 167. We are coming to a renewal. It's time to renew, but I'm going to wait until the new website is up so I can send out the right information. It will make that a lot easier.
Yeah, we do have, well, basically it's Eric's address if you want to mail your checks in, but we expect the website to be up next week, and we're hoping to have both PayPal and credit cards available there. But
that's fine, because renewal is a 3-month process. I start badgering them now, and by the end of May, we'll get anybody who is going to do it. So
yeah,
anyway,
right.
That's fine. I will wait for that.
Wait till the instructions are up there before we badger them, because, great. Let's see. Is there anything else on the agenda? Updates from elected official. I know that Owusu is here, and I don't know, Owusu, if you heard the full report out from Luke, but he described the meeting that we had this afternoon.
Awesome, thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm going to be brief. I know that Joe gave a report and Luke also gave a report. It's no secret we are seeing some violence in our neighborhood, particularly in the lower Midtown Pine Hills neighborhood. And it's been a concern, and all of us are working together to address this. I was motivated to reach out to the police chief actually last week when the incident took place, and we took a walk around the neighborhood, and he has assured me that we're going to get this corrected. We're going to fix this problem that we're seeing, whether it's more surveillance or more police presence, but we're going to get this right. On the legislative aspect, the mayor is going to be giving her State of the City address on February 1st. I look forward to hearing just her vision about safety, our finances. It's no secret we are struggling as a city, and many cities are struggling financially, but I'm optimistic with the new administration on the federal level that we're going to get the federal and state dollars that we need to move our city forward without cutting vital services. On the legislative front, I'm also working on a legislation that once a property is deemed unsafe, unsound, if the property owner is struggling to fix that property, the city would contract out so they could help fix the issue that's wrong with the property and then bill the property owner in the back end. This is a grant that was received by the Attorney General with the Albany Rise program. So we're going to use some of that dollars to fix some of the blight that we're witnessing with some of these properties. Also, on a positive note, there's a new business that's going to be opening on February 1st on Hudson and Quail at the old Hudson River Cafe. It's going to be a cafe and a lounge. It's called Ground Up. And they have all their paperwork, everything is approved. Their signage is going up soon. And they are looking to open on February 1st. So it's probably going to be a ribbon cutting down the line once they open. But February 1st, and let's go show our support to all the new businesses. I know businesses are struggling. So the ones that are open and the ones that are that continue to be open, let's go support them. And also the new ones that are opening in the near future, let's also go support them. Let's also have to give them a shout out. They've been so helpful over the past couple of months with the Upper Madison meetings and hosting us, the Madison Theater. Just go there. You could actually rent the whole theater to yourself with your family and friends if you want. Pick whatever movie you want to check out, or even for a social gathering, or even to go check out a football. So please, please, if you have the means, go and support our Madison Theater. And that will be all. Thank you all so much.
Owusu, do you know anything about that building across from Ralph's? I didn't realize it was an Albany Med building that's been bought. Any idea what the people are going to do with it?
From my understanding, I believe it's going to be apartments that's going to be at that location. Yeah, so it's going to turn into apartments and mixed use apartments. Yeah, and we are really excited about that. It's such a great location, right? It's like New Scotland, right across from the park. It's has so much potential, that property, and I'm glad that Albany Med was able to work with a developer who has a history of taking care of properties in the Center Square area and New Scotland area. So I'm optimistic about that. Now, if we could get the property across from where that property, that would be another.
Until the guy dies.
Oh my God, that would be wonderful if we were able to see that. But there's been quite a few investment on that Lower Madison, that center. There's a few historical properties that are coming back to life. I believe there was 4 properties that individuals are rehabbing and bringing back to life and will be renting soon. But it's going to be apartments at that location. And we're excited.
I said two bedrooms.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice to see both of those buildings restored, but I guess only the former Ralph's is under plans now. It's really a shame to have historic buildings opposite the park in a dilapidated condition, I must say. Well, County Legislator Barora Ekafaro was here. I think you may have had to leave. Barora, are you still here? I'm going to guess he's not. He's not shown on the participants. So we are then, if I'm not mistaken, at the conclusion of the agenda. I do want to make a note of just a couple of things, since Owusu mentioned the mayor's State of the City. At our next meeting on February 18th, Mayor Kathy Sheehan will be our guest, and she'll probably give us an abbreviated version of the State of the City, as well as addressing whatever other issues come up, and be available to answer your questions. Then on March 18th, we're going to have the Albany Public Library Executive Director, Scott, talk to us to give a community report. That's something that he's done before, usually in March or April, and he'll be doing it then. We are also hoping to have at that meeting a summary of the policing reinvention and reform collaborative recommendations. We will have the co-director Danielle Hill with us. So some interesting speakers coming up. Any other comments or issues raised by members of the board?
Yeah, Virginia, can you sign us up on that?
Yeah, I'll look into it. I have it written down here.
Okay, great. I knew you would.
Anyone else? All right, then we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll see you on February 18th.
Thank you.
Joke.
Good night.
Good night.